Yes, we are live. Don't know what happened there. It was a bit hit and miss there. The little live button up in the corner wasn't popping up. Hope everybody is well this Wednesday morning, the 9th of October. It is a nice fresh morning outside in Drogheda, but I need a ton of this. That's why I'm going for this. This is the best thermal mug I've ever come across. Keeps the coffee warm for bloody ages. So, Beth, thank you so much for sending this to me. It's much appreciated. Oh yeah, I was up late last night editing a podcast. I had a disagreement with my technology. So my normal motivation podcast that goes out on a Tuesday morning had to be delayed, and there was a lot of back and forth between me and my laptop. We weren't happy with each other, but eventually we got the podcast edited, and it should be out pretty much now or in the next, I'd say, 15 minutes with my good friend Simon Green, who is an award-winning producer and radio DJ, or a former producer and radio DJ. So it was a real emotional conversation that we had. So guys, give it a listen. If you search for the Alan O'Donoghue podcast, you should find it there. It's worth a listen. Simon is a really engaging, interesting guy, and good friend of mine. So anyway, back to the parenting today. Again, thank you so much for everyone who got in touch to say that last week's episode really kind of hit home for them. I sometimes forget that people actually watch this and actually pay attention. So a lot of the time it's very much me talking into a screen, and I don't even think of that there's somebody on the end of the other end who is going to get some benefit from it. So I appreciate you guys giving me the feedback and letting me know that it is actually worthwhile and that you do enjoy it. So it's much appreciated. On that note, thank you so much to everyone who has signed up for the Patreon page, patreon.com/Alan O'Donoghue podcast. There's been, I think, a couple of new ones in the last month. Genuinely, it really does mean so much to me, and means that I can keep producing these podcasts. So please do support if you can. If not, that's absolutely fine. So we're going to crack on with the questions. We have 2 questions today, short ones. We'll see how short the answers are. Who knows if they'll be short or not. The first one up is, my 10-year-old son loves playing his console. It's the only thing that seems to make him happy. My friends are all telling me that I need to let him play less as it's not good for him, but I don't actually mind because at least I know where he is. He probably gets a bit too much time on it, but is it wrong for me to let him play something he loves so much? If it was football, I don't think people would mind. That's a really interesting point. I wonder if it was football or a sport or activity that, or reading or whatever it might be. I wonder, would this person's friends actually give them as much comment on whether or not their child's activity was positive or not? Interesting one for us to think about, because there is so much talk about how we need to get our kids exercising, get our kids having a healthy lifestyle, get our kids having, engaging with other people. And then there's a huge big red flag when it comes to consoles and being online. And it's one of those things that's really kind of, I'm not sure where I landed, and I think I land somewhere in the middle, because like this person is saying, if this is what their child really enjoys, well, why would we force our child to not do what they enjoy? Now, at the same token, this person saying that their child probably gets a bit too much, and maybe that's the little tweak that this person needs to make. But, okay, there's a few things to kind of look at. One, is your child actually getting exercise? Because it is important that your child does get some sort of exercise. So whether that's out running, whether it's playing a sport, whether it's out walking the dog, just going for a walk with you in the evening, whatever it is important that your child does get exercise, because even just physically for their bones and their development, if they're sitting, and the chances are, like, a lot of people play hunched over, and they're so engaged, they're leaning forward into the games that there are, kids can have back problems and shoulder problems and neck problems. So it's important that they're not in a stationary position the whole time. So that sort of things, definitely have a look at it. Look at your child's posture. Might be one of those things where you get them a proper gaming seat. I don't know much about gaming seats, but I believe they can be quite built to try and keep you fairly kind of level and the best possible way that you can be while you're playing games. And like there's a lot of teenagers and pre-teeners out there who are shouting at their parents, going, "Look at that guy who won Fortnite World Championship recently, and he won $3 million. That's going to be me." Maybe it will be your child, maybe it won't be your child, but definitely esports and gaming online is more and more becoming a spectator sport. People find that unusual. It is what it is. So I think it is something that definitely I would say encourage it, because it's stimulating your child. Now the other thing is, do look at how is he when he comes off, or when you ask him to come off. Is he overly frustrated? Is he aggressive? Is he, getting tetchy or whatever? And if he is, well then that's something. I think sometimes what we do is we get caught up in the game is the problem, the console is the problem, the movie is the problem, everything external is the problem. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes that's just the vehicle by which the frustration comes out. What I mean by that is that a console does not cause your child to get angry, annoyed, frustrated, worked up. It's the amount of time that he spends on the console, or the game that he spends on that is playing on the console, or the lack of self-management when it comes to it. It's not the console's fault. The exact same way, it's not your smartphone's fault if your child is online taking photographs or being bullied, or being a bully online. It is the person that is the one that needs to change, not the technology, because that's just the vehicle. Now, that's not saying that we don't have to be responsible. And I think this is one thing as well for this person, is that there is a certain amount that you do need to look at. Well, is my child interacting with people online? Again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but who are they interacting with? It's important that you maybe set some boundaries around who they interact with, or if they are allowed to interact with people online. So have a look at that, because look, I've made some fantastic friends online. People do it all over the place. People go on dates. People get married now online. It's a different world. Doesn't mean it's a worse world, but it's a different world. But I think where we need to focus our attention with our children is about the reality of online interaction. And like there are plenty of studies done over the years where you have a baby who is not giving physical contact or eye contact, but is fed and watered and looked after, and then a child who is fed and watered as well, but also gets that physical interaction, and they develop much quicker. They develop better. They develop at a regular rate, whereas the things can be stunted for this other child. And I think that's where a lot of parents' concern is now, is that their child's ability to interact with those around them on a face-to-face level is being stunted because of constant interaction online, where they're not learning the social cues. And that's something that we do need to kind of look at as a society, is how do we learn about social cues and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So with the rise in far right kind of ideologies online, what can happen is there can be communities online that build up and whip up this storm like that, and then all of a sudden they go out into the world and go, well, I can just continue to whip up the storm and be the way I am online and say what I want to you because that's what I believe. But that's not okay, and we need to learn that through interaction with other people. Physical touch. It's important that we get physical contact to learn what is nice, and to be able to soothe and all that kind of stuff. So it's so important that our child does get the opportunity to get out, interact with the world. So I agree with you. Don't take away what he loves. And the other thing is, you don't need to worry about what your friends say. That's their business. Now, they may be concerned about you and your child, or whatever it might be, but and you appreciate the concern. But all you need to worry about is your child, not anybody else. So if it's okay for you, for your child to spend an hour or 2 hours on a console each day, that's up to you, right? That is up to you. But making sure for your child's development that he's getting that time to interact, getting that time to exercise, and looking at how he is coming off. Because if you're engrossed in something for 2 hours, coming away from that can be quite a difficult transition for young people, for adults as well. So it's important that he gets that opportunity to explore how he is after he's been using the console. If he's absolutely fine and you're okay with it, well, that's okay too. The thing about it is, I'm assuming he's going to school, so he's interacting with people. He has big blocks of time where he's not playing his console. So maybe that's okay that he is. The other thing I would say, he is now, what was it? Yeah, knowing where he is. So that's something I've heard from a lot of parents, where they will say, I don't mind my child playing consoles because I know where they are. And I have one parent whose child played 4 or 5 hours a day, and they're like, at least they're not out running around with the people who live in this estate, because they are bad news. And that wasn't healthy either, because that person, I've known this young lad for a long time, but definitely his interaction with people is stunted, and he spends so much time at home that it's become who he is, or who he sees himself as, where he's not going out, he's not interacting with the outside world, and he's finding it difficult now to transition into going to university and get a job, because he's not quite sure how to interact. So just be mindful of it. It's just something to be mindful of, okay? I'm going to inject this stuff into my veins today. Okay, last one for today. I have a 3-year-old son who is the apple of my eye. Ah, lovely. He has started going to creche, and we're all really excited about him going. It went great for the first couple of weeks, but recently the staff have been telling us that he is pushing other children, especially a couple of girls in his class. The staff say they are dealing with it when it happens, and he always apologises and tells us, and they tell us just to reinforce the positive behaviour at home. My big worry is that he may start to think it's okay to hit girls and push girls around, and how this might impact on how he is in future relationships, or even with me as he gets older. He doesn't see violence at home, so I don't know where this is coming from. Is there anything we can do to stop the behaviour? So there's a few things to look at here. The first thing I'd say is, and I definitely mentioned in the past, it's important that we don't catastrophize, that we don't take how our child is in the here and now and put that behaviour, that way they are now, on them in 10 years' time, because he's going to change. He's going to mature. He's going to get older. He's going to get to a point where he pushes somebody at school and they give him a good thump back, and that will be an eye-opener for him. Now, no one wants their children to get hit, but there's things called natural consequences that we've discussed in the past as well. So if your child is going around pushing people around, they're going to get hit. Right? Now, you don't want that for your child, but try not to catastrophize. Try not to think about the worst possible case scenario. Just because your child has pushed a couple of girls in creche doesn't mean he's going to be a wife beater. Doesn't mean he's going to be a mother beater. So pare it back, right? All you need to do is worry about the here and now, and focus on how you can make a change in his behaviour in the here and now. So the other thing I'd say is, the creche are saying that they're dealing with it. So they obviously feel that they are managing the situation in the moment sufficiently, so that he's not getting to a stage where he's being aggressive all the time. So the other thing is to trust them, because your role is not to be your child's only influence. There are going to be many, many people who will have a positive and negative influence on your child. Now, you will be the biggest influence on him, but you won't be the only person. So, the staff in the creche are trained. They know how to handle this kind of stuff. And it's going to be important. Like, they're not coming to you saying that they're exceptionally worried, or that they think your child has got a serious issue. They're just making you aware, probably because he might say something, or another parent might say something to you. So they're making you aware to try and reinforce that behaviour that they're saying to them, this is not okay and this is the way you need to behave, and they're just giving you the communication, which is fantastic. Like, some people can be embarrassed and worried about, oh my God, what do they think of us as parents? Do they think do they think he's seeing that my husband is beating me up or my partner is beating me up? No, it's not that. What they're just trying to do is communicate with you so that everyone who is working with your son and supporting your child growing up is singing from the same hymn sheet as best as possible. And it's always the caveat. We're all doing the best that we can at any given moment, dependent on our own stress levels and what's going on for us. So it is important that, you take that pressure off yourself and kind of go, right, let's sit down and look at what is the actual behaviour. So we're not seeing that behaviour at home. And that's important as well. So it's not something that's happening all the time. So sit down and actually have a frank conversation with the staff and say, okay, well, what are you doing when this happens? Let us know. And, they might give you suggestions. So, he's young, but he's not a baby anymore, but he is kind of still very young. He's only 3 years of age. He's just learning about the world, and he's only just started. And, but from my reading of it, maybe he's an only child. So he's going from having literally everybody in his world doing everything for him, looking after him, feeding him, whatever he wants, whenever he wants attention, he's getting it. Okay, and he's now moving into a world where he's not the centre of attention, and that can be a culture shock. And he can start to take on beliefs about himself because he's looking around going, hello, give me all the attention, please. And it could be just a response to that he's just getting used to. Oh, I don't need to push somebody to get attention, because, like we say again all the time, negative attention is better than no attention. So kids will take it. Kids will take negative attention. Adults take negative attention all the time. So what I'd say to you is, sit down with him. Try not to talk too much, because he's 3. And, well, even if he was 13, try not to talk too much either, because the more we go on and on and on, the less our kids actually hear. Like, we all remember being, kids, and once our parents started, if they kept going, we just started hearing blah, 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 blah. Thinking about, I can't wait to go out and play with friends now. When they're finished, it should be done now in about 2 minutes' time. That'll be fantastic. So it's okay. It's okay to just keep it short and sweet. You're not allowed to do that behaviour. The teacher has told us. And if you feel the need, or if the creche feels the need to put a consequence in place at home, we'll do it. It doesn't have to be severe. Sometimes it's just, that's how you reinforce the message. So you have to go to bed 15 minutes earlier tonight, or whatever the consequence is. It doesn't have to be massive. And then talk to them about, look, we don't want this to happen again. I'm sure you don't want this to happen again. So tomorrow, just think about tomorrow, or think about this morning when you go into creche, and look at how you behave and see how he gets on. Don't expect him to just go, thanks very much, I get you. I will never do anything ever again. He's a child. He's just learning. He's going to push. He's going to be pushed. And it's about how we react. Okay, so try not to make it something big. Speak to the creche, engage with them, talk to them about it, and see what suggestions they might have, and then look at your own consequences or reward charts, whatever you think is going to work for you in your home with your little boy, and give it a go, put it into practice, and see how you get on. Right, that's us. Short and sweet one, 20 minutes. Hopefully there's some nuggets. Thank you so much. Please do share the page. Check out the podcasts. These are put out every single week as a podcast on the Help Me to Parent podcast channel. Please like the podcast channel. Please share the podcast channel. Please subscribe to the podcast channel. Please leave a rating. That's something I don't ask for very often, but it definitely makes a difference. So if you find this of benefit, and if you're not in a position to help out the Patreon page, maybe your recommendation or your positive feedback or your review is going to have just as much of an impact as the money that you would give if you had it. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to maybe write a little review, maybe share it, subscribe to it. It does make a difference. All right, guys. a wonderful week. Take care.